Hello and welcome to this Conversation in Career session. Today I'm joined by Yulia Gerhardt at Wincove Probiotics. So Yulia is actually an SLAS member and long-term volunteer. So I can't wait to dive into a bit more about those aspects of your journey and your career journey so far. Before we kick off, just to say, delighted to be in contact and to have you with us today, Yulia, and thanks to SLS for connecting us, and they are also conference sponsors, as well as the sponsor for our Life Science Inspiration of the Year Award. So all very exciting indeed. So just want to kick off our chat today. Yulia, would you please just sort of introduce yourself, a bit about your current role and perhaps your journey there?
Yes, Alicia, thank you very much. And also, I would like to join in thanking SLAS and especially Mary Geisman, who brought us together. And indeed, I've just, if you talk about SLAS, I've been, and I still stayed a member of SLAS when I changed my job from the 1st of January this year. At this moment, I'm a senior sales and account manager at Wincove Probiotics, and I am happy we have interview at this moment. I can say for which countries I'm responsible for, just very globally. It's the whole Eastern Europe, as I'm born Russian born, then it goes without saying, and also a few Asian countries, as well as countries in like Australia and New Zealand, so more like Pacific, very broad range, but I have to dive into that as I heard about it just this week. So I joined Wincove, as I said, the beginning of this year, and before I've been working for specs or compound handling, also in the Netherlands, and I got also acquainted with SLAS, being business development and sales manager at specs. I don't know, shall I go more into my past role and SLAS relation, or more in what I'm doing now, Alicia?
So I think what would interest me, and hopefully the listeners, Yulia, maybe a little bit about your journey to the current role. So has it always been sort of a scientific element? If not, did you consciously decide to move in to sort of the life science sector?
Well, honestly, that's a good question, and it really comes to the point. I have always been fascinated by life sciences. I was born in Russia, and from 12 years old, I started do horse riding, and I was really such in love with horses that I wanted even to study horse breeding and stuff around that. But luckily, my mom was, more wise, and she said, "Well, you can do that, but where are you going to work?" And I was living in a big city of Moscow, and I do have friends who still do something with horses professionally, but you could also keep it as a hobby. So at the last moment, I decided that I will join the academy. It is named by Timirazov, and it's like a Moscow Agricultural Academy. But I chose like a general life sciences and animal sciences, it's called, if I translate from Russian. So that's why I thought, okay, I can always go for horses, but maybe if I have more broad education, I have a better chance to find a job. And in fact, already in the third year, I thought that not only big animals are interesting, I love all the animals, but also very small animals, so bacteria. They really fascinated me, and I found microbiology such an interesting subject that when the chance came up to have also your diploma work, so your graduation work together with microbiology department, however, it didn't belong to our faculty, I thought, okay, it's a great challenge for me. And in fact, my diploma even was related to probiotics. So only we fed them to cows, to animals, and we investigated the microbiota changes. So investigated which bacteria were doing better, which bacteria were doing worse. Hopefully they were pathogen bacteria, and that's why I really liked it so much. And when I came to work in the Netherlands after my graduation, I only had a very small break, which didn't have to do with life sciences, because more or less because of my first job, it was related to a certain company. And also because I didn't know, would I stay more than 1 year or would I have to go back? But as I knew already in the course of the year, I would stay here. I learned the language, the Dutch language, and I also thought I will have to work in life sciences. I want to go back to my study. And that's what I did. And in fact, life sciences always stayed like the red line in my career, starting with microbiological lab at the company which later became Nestle Waters. And then I worked in pharmaceutical consultancy still for quality management in pharmaceutical or biotech companies. And then through a governmental organization, helping life sciences company to develop innovative projects. And then at SPEX as business development manager working for pharmaceuticals, but now I'm back to probiotics. So actually this last career move was really very conscious. I was looking to get back more to to use my technical knowledge in my work, but still commercial and still international. And I found it at Winklow finally.
That's really interesting. I think what you've highlighted in terms of your current role is that you're utilizing your technical skills, but you've also got that more of that a commercial awareness, and that's where you are currently. So is that something you've aspired to, or has that evolved as you've worked in different roles?
Well, it is a difficult question. I always have a kind of, you call it a dilemma, because
there's no right answer.
Yes, because I liked working in quality very much, because then you're really very close to the lab, you're close to the process, and you can also see all the things happening with the bacteria. For example, when I was working at Nestle or when I was working in quality consultants, you really come very close to the real stuff. On the other hand, I like working with people as well. I'm a really very, like an open person, and I think all the customers and partners I worked with, especially SPEX, they really became more friends to me than. And this part of work, and also commercial, meaning that you can see the results of your work back in the company results, and you can make also, real moves, not only for yourself, but also for your colleagues, and getting further. That I also like very much about that. And when I, about 1.5 years ago, I talked to a person who was a kind of coach, but very informally. Just I thought, okay, I will talk to this person. She's become also a friend of mine. What shall I do? Shall I more go, like to quality, or shall I more go to the commercial? And I explained all this to her, and finally she said, just follow your heart. And in fact, what I'm doing now, it is commercial. You talk to the customers about account plans, you talk about prices, but you also, within Winklow, you get a lot of knowledge, and you can exchange what you know, and you also have a lot of opportunities to learn, in my case, about microbiology, about probiotica, what they do with people. So till now on, it is a perfect combination. However, it's really nice that you asked, because one of my new colleagues, who is a quality manager, he told me, when I saw your CV, I thought, what a pity another person lost for quality, something like this. So it was really funny. So you never know. It's not a very huge company I'm working for. It is about 100 people now. But you never know. Maybe after 3 years, I say, well, actually, I had enough of the customers. I had enough of the travels. Now I'm longing to travel, and I still want to help our company to bring the quality to the next level. If Matthijs asks me again, maybe I go back.
It sounds like you really sort of enjoy that external facing engagement. We're quite similar in the sense that I also really enjoy that. I mean, I'll just say, before our conversation, we were exchanging our experiences at Bio Spring. That's again a perfect example of that.
Absolutely.
External engagement. So it sounds like you're in the dream position. You've got those two elements. And Did you say, sorry, you sought advice from someone on what direction?
It was like there was a lady I knew very, you call it privately. She's a coach actually, but she was working a few days in the same building where I was working, and I let out her dog a few times. So, and we really got kind of more acquainted. And then I really had a kind of internal process. On the one hand, I didn't want to leave. I worked there already for many, many years. But a certain point of time, you come to the point. The company still stays small. The business is interesting, but it's not really very innovative. And I missed a bit, like direct colleagues to discuss things, to think together about how we can do things for customers better this time in this aspect. And maybe it was just a phase of life that you're up to a new challenge, And it was more for me to talk to somebody who's absolutely, you call it in English, who doesn't
impartial, sort of neutral.
Impartial. That's what was. Yeah. Neutral, and then at the end, Petra was her name. She told me, if you think that specs will change, then you don't have to go. But if you actually, and she knows specs a bit, said you think that things will stay like this, maybe you have to look for something else. So that was a bit for me, And I was looking very, you call it, cautiously, and didn't have any pressure. And finally, I came up, I think, with a position which was not only a step forward, but also very, you call it, thought through step forward. Yeah.
So it sounds like seeking that advice was really helpful for you and sort of determining.
Yes, I think it was a right moment. Yes.
Excellent. Also, I know you're a keen volunteer, and I just wondered, would you be happy to share sort of some of the other activities you're doing around your role at the moment?
Yes, if you already mentioned in the beginning, if you start with SLAS, and this moment, like what I'm doing now, is a bit of example. But before I was at Specs, we were really very, you call it like loyal supporter of all the events, which were not always necessarily our business related. But like, for example, the CEO of SLAS, Vicky Louise, asked me about this ambassador role. I had a conversation with her and I said, absolutely, even if I leave Specs, I knew already more or less at that moment, I was in negotiations with my new company, with Winklof. I said, Vicky, if it doesn't matter who you're working for, what company you're working for, just put me on the list. And if there are things to be done, I will be there. And I think the interview now is one of these examples. Probably Mary also approached you, not just out of the blue. Next to this, what I also do is at my new company, there is a certain education track for children which live in Amsterdam in the north part of the city, and which are not always, from a very I would say well-supported families, if I can put it like this. And in good times, before COVID, they had a team of a couple of people, and they just went to schools and they gave some information about microbiota, and they had also you call it a kind of agreement with a microbial zoo. There is one in Amsterdam. And then they would give a lecture, for example, or they invited students from these kind of colleges, and they could come to the lab of Winklof. And I already said I would be happy to help them. Only there was not an event yet, but the colleagues who do that, they know that I'm on the list for that. I don't know, are you also interested in my volunteer experience, which are not related to life sciences or not?
I think what I was trying to get at is, do those experiences help you in terms of skills? Obviously, I assume they do. And then that can then have a positive impact in your sort of day-to-day work. And also in terms of satisfaction and well-being as well. That can all, I guess, play into your performance in your day-to-day role. It's, I guess, being quite a rounded person is quite beneficial. So maybe it'd be good to encourage that more. Maybe do you think companies could do more to encourage individuals to do more activities?
Yes,
because of the
I
positive
understand.
impacts.
Actually, in that case, Winkloff is really great company for that, because they just got this B Corp certification, where volunteer work of employees is very much appreciated and even encouraged. And we had also a small, we call it onboarding, where my colleague who is like the head of the certification group, she said that even maybe we would get more or less a couple of hours per week for volunteer activities. But for me, it doesn't matter. I've been doing that already, and not only next to my work, because I think it enriches you anyway. If you get in contact with new people, you hear new ideas, and it doesn't have to be a paid work then. Also, like an example, I also in my free time I do two other volunteer examples. Is that I am a part-time teacher of Russian language and literature in our school in Delft, where I live. At this moment, I have the guys of 15, 16 years old, like my son. So my son is also in this group. Very challenging, but still you think they are either half Russian or they have both parents Russian, but still they want to have extra language education. And I think it's really great to bring this knowledge to the children. And the second thing what I do is that I am not the main coach, but I'm a co-coach, and I always do the competition coaching in a volleyball team of my son. I play myself volleyball, but it's also great to see how the younger, generation develops, and it is also something which it's not on the list of the club. I don't have any money. I don't get any money for that, and for this Russian activity is really very small. Like this obliged or must to be paid for volunteers. But I don't mind, because it is a time which is also very valuable.
Sounds brilliant. It sounds like, a really enjoyable range of
Yes.
activities to engage with. And as you say, I really agree that doesn't enrich you as a person. In my last role prior to One Nucleus, I bumped into a colleague who used to do volunteering at a rabbit rescue at the weekends. And I thought, do you know what? I've got some spare time, and I want to use this time to help help people or help animals do something productive.
Yes.
So I joined, and I started helping out at weekends, and it made me feel better. I kind of bonded a bit more with my colleagues. So yeah, all around it was sort of a win-win. So I agree, it was a really valuable experience. And I think maybe going forward, employers might have to be thinking about how they can be quite flexible, or a bit more flexible with employees in this sort of a post-pandemic era that we're well, hopefully we're going through. So in terms of what you look for in an employer, do you have a strict criteria, or is it really the work per se which is what draws you in? Or do you look more widely at the company's values, maybe on sort of certain issues like sustainability?
Well, it is really interesting that you asked it, because before I joined Winkloff, I knew a bit that they're really very active. That is a company which say we want to be. Let me please a moment check. I want to pronounce it right way. I have to translate it from Dutch. We want to be the best company for the world, instead of being the best company of the world. So, and
I like that.
I only knew when I joined them, they were working on so-called great place to work acknowledgement, or it's not really certification, I guess, but this is something which says that they work a lot also on employee satisfaction, and they try to facilitate work and life balance, and also try to listen to employees in terms of if they need additional training or education. And even in these 2.5 months, I've seen a lot of examples of that. And also, what I am looking for at this moment, or I was looking for before I joined Winklow, I wanted to work for a company where you can also develop your personal skills, not only, like going up on the career ladder, but also get interaction with your colleagues, learn from each other, work on the projects together. This is important. And what I knew for sure, I wouldn't look for a very big employer. I said I used to work for a company that was very small and was taken over 2 times. First by a medium-sized company and by Nestle, as you know, it's a multinational. And you saw exactly how it goes then. I just learned by experience that company culture, I think that's the most important I'm looking for. And the only disadvantage now I see is this digital, way of working. I was so happy when last week I went to the office second time in 3 months, and I met 12. I went to the 12 colleagues. We worked together on the project. Even I was new and a lot of new information, but I was so happy to see people face to face. So this is, I think, it will still come, as you already mentioned, in the post-pandemic era, that we have much more human interaction than we have now.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I've also had opportunities to see sort of very sort of few numbers of colleagues at recent times, and it is lovely to sort of have that contact again. But it's been a very long time, obviously, since we've all been as a group. So definitely looking forward to that too. And I really agree on you with company culture. I've also had experiences where changes in the structure of the business, might I add, not my recent role, have had impacts. And it happens. It's just things that, I guess, as you say, you learn about as you have different roles. So yeah, having that awareness, I guess, can help guide maybe where you go moving forward. And just finally, because we're coming up to time a bit, you mentioned your family. Now, if you're looking at your family as your children, as they're sort of at the age of, where to go, what to do, do you feel like I hope it's not too personal, you don't have to answer, but do you feel like you want to impart on them, obviously, some of the things you've learned? And if you have, what would that be? Because I'm just thinking for some of the earlier career seekers who might be tuning in, and actually that is irrespective of age, I should say, because I've learned from listening to other of these conversations that you can change your career pretty much at any time. But if somebody, I guess, is at that stage, would you be able to give any certain advice or tips maybe?
I think if we start with my family, my kids are now, the oldest is 15 and the youngest is 10. And I also still have the third girl is 13. For them, what I try to bring to them now is use all the opportunities you can learn now. You never know how the world will look like. I know it by my own experience. I was so happy I chose a broad education and didn't go only horses. Then, as you know, that would never, I think, bring me up here. I also tell them at this moment they are still a little bit of doubting. Still too early, to say I want that. I think my second daughter, she wants to do something with animals as well. She likes horses and she rides horses, and we do it together now. But I told her the same. Only horses won't bring you too far. If I look at the like students or young career professionals, early career professionals, if I look at, and at the same time look at myself at the age, myself, I think it is maybe not a big deal if your first job is not exactly you studied for or you're looking forward to do. You have to start somewhere, especially in these times. And I also helped to find a job for a couple of my, people I know, not really friends, but acquaintances. And I told the same, I can bring you in touch with this person or this person, but it's up to you if you want to go for this company or not. But I also think if you work, just coming back to what just I said before, if you work for a couple of years, for example, you studied as a, say, like a medicinal chemistry specialist, but you work somewhere like project assistants in a different company, you learn a lot about projects, you learn what is to work in the company, and you have your work experience, your job experience in your resume, in your CV. And then you can say, okay, after a couple of years, now it's time that I really look forward and look around and see if there is a next step, which is more also in the direction I studied for. On the other hand, if you start somewhere, maybe you develop new skills and new interests, and you stay there and you make totally different career. It is also possible. So summarizing, I would say use the opportunities you think they are opportunities for you, and try not to miss these chances as well. Try to think more, broad, and the world is sometimes much more than the study you did. Maybe if it is something in the direction of answer.
No, I mean, it's personal experience, so it's extremely valuable. I guess opportunities come in all shapes and sizes, and I totally agree with you. Maybe if you choose a route of studying and you take that forward a bit further, it forms a foundation. But I guess moving forward, you shouldn't let that restrict you, and you'll have picked up skills that are transferable, I guess, so they could still be applied. But it's been absolutely delightful talking to you, Yulia, and you've got such fascinating interests, and your journey has been super interesting and very global, which is really exciting. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and for all those who tune in to listen to this session. I hope you've found some useful takeaways as well, and I hope you've enjoyed listening. So with that, I'll just close our conversation here. Thanks very much, Yulia. Take care.
Thanks, you too.